Hi everyone, let's mark the homework for meeting 9. Here was the homework. You needed to download the Python code and the ciphertext and find one hidden mistake in the code. After fixing the mistake, run the code and decrypt the ciphertext to find the plaintext again. And then the two things you needed to email me was the Python code and the plaintext that you found again. So let me show you the mistake that was hidden. The only place you needed to change was this period, because in our ciphertext everything was separated by a comma. So we want to split the string by each comma so we know when each character is, because our ciphertext looks like this and they're separated by commas. So if we put a period for the place where we split, then it won't be able to work. So now when we have changed this mistake, we can run it and it will find the plaintext. The plaintext says that Rachel will be playing drums in a jazz band concert at Rocky Point Park on Saturday, June 11th. Everyone is welcome to enjoy the weekend there. My band will be playing from 12:30 and play for about 40 minutes, so you guys can all come and watch. So that was the homework part. You needed to send me this code with this place edited and the generated plaintext. Next, let's look at Brian's homework. So I found two mistakes in here. The first one, you weren't able to change the period into a comma, and over here we needed to use, because when we decrypt a character we would get a number. That number is the ASCII code for the plaintext character, so we want to turn that ASCII code into a character by using the character function. If we use a string function, it just puts quotation marks around it and it won't give us a character. Also here, you added a comma after every single character and it wasn't necessary, so we just need to add new character into new string each time. So if we, for example, try your code with the commas in it, it would look like this. It would be able to generate a plaintext, but every single character will be separated by a comma, and that isn't necessary. So now, after we delete the comma, everything is legible. So those were the three places that I found a mistake. Otherwise, the code is good. Now let's look at Dylan's. In the email, you asked me if you have coding homework, and if so, what was it? We always have homework, so we send the homework every Wednesday in WeChat. So if you don't know what it is, you should ask your parents in the WeChat group, and they should have received the homework for each meeting. For this meeting's homework, I explained it at the beginning of the video, so you could watch it again. And after you do it, send it to me next Monday. Also, I can't reply to your email right away because I check my email every Monday. So you can still ask me questions, but I will answer them in the video. Next is Ellie's. I rewrote your code using your idea because the code that you wrote had a lot of mistakes in it. So here's my version. First, we defined a function called decryption using P, Q, D, and C. C is the ciphertext. So after we do all the math in here, we would return M, which is a number, which is an ASCII code for a character. And then after the function, you defined P, Q, phi, E, and D. But in here, we don't need to use phi and E because we're just decrypting, so I turned them into comments. And then you have C equals 1859, which is the first character in the ciphertext. So that means if we decrypt it, we would get the capital letter R, which is the first letter in my name. So we decrypt it and then get the ASCII code for the decrypted character. After we have the ASCII code, we turn it into the character, and then we print the character. So when we print it, we would get capital letter R, and your code works now. It just decrypts the first letter of the ciphertext successfully. Next, let's look at Gary's. Here, you didn't find the mistake. You needed to change the period into a comma because in the ciphertext, the different characters are separated by a comma, so if we put a period, it wouldn't work. The point of the comma is to separate all of the numbers because each number is an ASCII code for one character. So now, after we changed it to split with a comma, the code works. And the plaintext RSA is generated. Next, let's look at Grace's. I didn't find any mistakes in your code, and you also found the hidden mistake, which is turning the period into a comma. So well done. Next, let's look at Joey's. Here, the mistake was, so you said in the email that you can't fix the problem. There was one hidden mistake. It was to change the period into a comma, because in the ciphertext, the different numbers are separated by commas. So if we try to split it by a period, it wouldn't be able to find any periods, and then it would try to take the whole thing, all of this, and then try to decrypt it, and then it wouldn't work. So now we turned it into a comma, and then it should work now. So plaintext found RSA was created with the plaintext in it. Next is Matthew's. There wasn't any mistakes, and you were able to find this place, which is turn the period into a comma. So well done. Let's run it, and it works as well. So it generates the plaintext. Next is Mitchell's. There wasn't any mistakes in the code, so well done. You were able to find the hidden mistake, which was turning the period into a comma. So the plaintext RSA homework was created. So good job. Next is Richard's. You were able to find the hidden mistake, which was turning the period into a comma, and otherwise there wasn't any mistakes in the code. And it can successfully find the plaintext. So good job. Next is Vincent. So you sent me the plaintext in the email. You were supposed to send the document, but this is fine as well. The plaintext is correct, and for the code, you were able to find the hidden mistake, and there wasn't any other mistakes in it, so good job. Lastly, we have Williams. So the hidden mistake was to turn the period into a comma, because in the ciphertext, all of the different characters, encryptions, were all separated by a comma. So if we split it by a period, it won't be able to find any periods, and it would be wrong. So we need to turn it into a comma. Also, in the top, you don't need to find the ciphertext again. So I turned the encryption part into a comment because I already gave you the ciphertext, so you don't need to do any more encryptions. The only part we needed was the decryption part. So now that I have turned the encryption into a comment and changed the split by period into a comma, the code works, and it finds the plaintext. plaintext found.rsn.txt was created.